Hello, and welcome back to Entrepreneur Talks podcast. This is season 4. Thank you for being with us through all the previous seasons, and we're going to have more fun and inspirational stories for you to hear on season 4. My name is Yola Bastos. I'm one of the co-founders of Women Flix network community. We are focused on empowering and motivating women around the world to achieve their dreams. We mainly support them through coaching, business strategies, and workshops. Our aim is to build connections that will increase the power of women in collaboration and be able to create space for growth and expand our knowledge. Find more about Women Flix through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can find us always by Women Flix. I also want to say welcome to my guests on this new season. And I hope for my listeners to enjoy every episode and get in touch with each of my guests through the information that will be available on each podcast episode description. My guest for today's podcast is Tracey Ferrin. Tracey is a motivational speaker and the best-selling author of Up Struggle. When she is not writing or speaking, she can be found teaching group fitness classes and giving back to the cancer community. Tracey has overcome many struggles, but the one she's most proud of is cancer. Let's welcome Tracey Ferrin and listen her story and feel inspired. Hello, Tracey, and welcome to my podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so excited to hear about your story and your journey.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited to be here, and thank you for having me on.
Oh, fantastic. You're welcome. Thank you myself for you being here with me. Tell me one thing, Tracey, just for start. Where are you talking from?
Houston, Texas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, do you know that I'm from London. I think you know. If you don't know, I'm from London. I normally record in London, but right now I'm not in London. I'm in Netherlands, in one small village. Very quiet.
Wow.
It's so nice. The weather has been tricky, but it's fine. It's Europe. So sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's not. How is the weather in Texas?
Oh, well, we just had a tropical storm.
Oh.
So we got lots of rain, which I love rain. I open up my blinds, kind of just lay in bed and watch it. It's just like throw on your sweats, hop on the couch kind of day. Today it's kind of the same. And, I always tell people that the Texas weather is just bipolar. You never know what you're going to get. In one day you can have your AC and heater on. It's up and down, but I'm used to it.
Yeah. Like me. London is the same. United Kingdom is the same.
Uh-huh.
But that's a funny name that you gave to the weather, bipolar. Very interesting.
Yeah, you just never know.
Okay, let's go to your story and leave the weather.
Absolutely.
Weather, right? So you wrote a book, right?
I did. I wrote a book.
How long that happened? When?
So I just wrote it what was published March of this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so just a couple months ago.
Well, congratulations. I didn't know it's so fresh. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so delighted. That's really amazing. Tell
Thank you.
me.
I actually wrote it. It was published actually the week of March 16th, which I don't know about where you are, but where I live, everything that week started closing down from COVID.
Yes.
So that kind of COVID hit week, March 16th, everything started closing down. And March 20th, I published and I was like, oh no, is anyone going to buy? But sure enough, people bought it and it hit Amazon bestseller the first day.
Wow, well done. Oh,
Yeah.
really, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
really good to hear. Amazing. So now tell me and tell my listeners, what is this book about it? Because I'm very curious.
So, one thing about me is I have just gone through so many struggles, and it got to the point where I just kind of wanted to understand them a little bit better. I figured if I'm always gonna, have them in my life, different ones, of course, different seasons and stuff, I better get comfortable with them and learn how to understand them. So I wrote the book. Chapter 1 starts with my ultimate struggle, which was cancer.
Wow.
So in chapter 1, I tell my cancer story, and then chapter 2, I explain my formula. But all the rest of the chapters are just other struggles that I have been through. And I didn't want to just write a book and say, hey, this is what I've been through, and this is how my life is. Yay. I wanted to write a book that says, hey, this is what I've been through, but let me share some tips that have helped me through it, or maybe a different perspective. So I wanted to make sure I was adding value and that people could take tangible tips away from my book. So that's what it is. People are really drawn to my cancer story. I'm very open about my life on social media and stuff. But for some reason, it's when I share my cancer story, people are so drawn to that one. And so that's the one that I like to share with people. When I was 18, I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, which is a bone cancer. And, but I was also married and I had a daughter and I was pregnant. I was, I think 5 months pregnant and diagnosed with cancer. And this was just my ultimate struggle. I always say everybody has an ultimate struggle, and it's really important to be able to identify that. And cancer was mine. Shortly after I was diagnosed, my husband left me. My doctors wanted me to terminate my pregnancy because they said they had no research showing a pregnant woman who underwent chemo that delivered a healthy baby.
Right.
And I told my doctors, no, I wasn't going to terminate, and that we would have to come up with a different solution, a different approach to it. And so they did say, well, if you wait, till your third trimester to have to start chemo, the baby will probably survive, but we can't give you any guarantee what can happen to her from the chemo. Because by the time the baby's in third trimester, they're pretty much already developed. It's just about putting weight on. So that was, I felt comfortable. I was taking a little bit of risk of waiting. Obviously, my daughter was taking a little bit of risk of having to go through chemo. But it seemed like really the only way where we could both be standing at the end of it all. So went ahead with chemo, husband left. I mean, I had complication after complication. Woke up one morning with no motor skills. I couldn't speak. I couldn't eat. I could barely write. My mom knew something was wrong. And from what I could motion to her, she grabbed me paper and pen. And I just was able to write no motor skills, and they took me to the hospital, and come to find out I was just kind of overdosed on chemo. They'd given me way too much chemo in too short of a period. Yeah, it was pretty scary because I didn't know. Oh my goodness. Is this the new Tracey? Is this going to be me the rest of my life? Thankfully it wasn't. But I just went through so many, different things at such a young age. I was young when I was diagnosed. And that was really, people are like, well, if you could change it, would you? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't wish that cancer on anybody, but I also wouldn't go back and change that experience, because that experience in my life has taught me so much. And without that experience, I wouldn't have been able to write the book. So when people are like, how many years did it take you to write the book? I'm like, 20. They're like, what? I'm like, well, if I didn't have that experience and all of the other struggles along the way, I wouldn't have been able to write the book.
You took 20 years, Tracey, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you said it took you 20 years to write your book.
Yeah, it did.
Wow.
Because of the experience, you know, if I mean, not
Yes, yes.
literally, I wrote it a lot quicker, actually, hand to paper. But
It's
I
really
always just
about
tell people,
yourself. It's really about your story, your journey. Wow.
yeah, yeah, I had to have that experience in my life to be able to write the book.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know, I after chemo and everything I had gone through, I delivered my daughter at 3 pounds 10 ounces, and she was completely healthy. She was only small, and when they're that small, they have to stay in the hospital. And she just had to stay in the hospital and put some weight on her, put a little bit of meat on her bones, and she was able to come home. I think about 4 to 6 weeks after I'd had her. I had surgery, this limb salvage surgery to remove the tumor but save the leg. A lot of people with my cancer, they actually have amputations. I was fortunate enough where I was able to keep my leg and it was not amputated. So it just, just so much to go through. And finally, at the end, I had a couple of rounds left. And I had to go and talk to my doctor because I felt like I was just the chemo. Anyone who has been a caregiver or been up close with someone who's had cancer, you know that, I mean, people forget, you think, oh, chemo's medicine. No, chemo is poison. It is poison. We are purposefully poisoning our bodies to kill cancer is what we're doing. Yeah. And so I had been poisoning my body for so long. And they've been hitting me with such potent chemo that my body just started having issue after issue. And I felt like I was slowly dying. And so finally I told my mom, I'm like, I cannot continue on with chemo anymore. Like the chemo is killing me. If I do any more chemo, Mom, I am going to die. And I had 2 to 3 rounds left. And I went to my doctor and I said, I'm done. Like, y'all are killing me. I know that it's for the good, right? They're trying to kill the cancer, but I'm like, but I am dying. And so I stopped doing chemo a few rounds early. And obviously that was for me. I don't recommend people do that. But for me in my situation, that was the right choice for me to make because obviously I'm here. Cancer didn't come back. And so that's another thing in my book, I talk about some of these health issues I've gone through is we have to be our own advocates. Nobody knows our bodies better than we do.
Right. Yeah.
So really, I mean, in a whole, I think I did chemo for over a year. That was me just trying to put it in a nutshell and give you just a high overview of my story.
Wow. My gosh. What a journey.
Yeah.
No, seriously, because all this, the cancer, the baby, the pregnancies, you had a child that already, and then the husband leaving, and then the process of getting out of the chemo, all this is, wow, you are brave.
Oh, thank you. It was life-changing for sure, but I always tell people it was life-changing in a good way.
I love the fact that you said to your mom, like, I'm feeling like I'm gonna die because of this chemo, so I need to get rid of this, because this is not an easy easy decision, even to your doctors, to get off of that, because this is the reality. Tracy, you've been through, I haven't been through this, but I've seen people, and I know exactly when you say that he kills the bacteria, he kills the disease, but he also kills people. And that's really, and depends on your mindset, depends on a lot of stuff. And I'm glad. So you created your own step-by-step formula, right?
I did, because I didn't realize that, every human being goes through struggles. That like we all go through struggles. And it doesn't matter how good of a person you are, or how much money you have, or how pretty you are, or how successful you are. We all experience struggle. Now, we all experience different kinds of struggles, but I had just gone through so many struggles that I really dove into kind of understanding them, doing some research, reading about them. And this formula didn't just come overnight. It kind of came pieces at a time. And eventually I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I have a formula. And so I would love to share that with your listeners.
Yeah.
And if you get a pen and paper, your listeners need to get a pen and paper and write this stuff down. So through my research, I discovered that there were 3 universal struggles that we all experience. The first one I call self, meaning self-inflicted pain by one's own actions. I think we can all raise our hand and say we have struggles, we've had struggles in our life that we have brought on ourselves because of our choices.
Right.
The second one I call others, meaning pain inflicted on you through the actions of others. Again, I think we have all had struggles from there. But I think oftentimes we want to place all our struggles there, and they don't belong there. And I always tell people, if you think your struggles always belong in that category, then the question becomes, why are you hanging out with people who always cause pain in your life? So if you think about it, really, it falls back on self, because you are choosing to surround yourself with people who cause pain.
So true.
And in the third one, I call life, meaning pain inflicted on you at no one's fault, like my cancer. There are just things that we are going to go through that no matter, it doesn't matter what you did or somebody else did, you couldn't have prevented it. I didn't cause my cancer, right? That was just a life struggle I had dealt with. And then I have some very simple, basic questions that I ask myself, because when I'm struggling, I always try to identify which universal struggle it is, because depending on which universal struggle I'm dealing with will depend on how I deal with it, right? What I'm going to do about it. And so the first question is, did I bring this upon myself? If so, what can I do differently to avoid it in the future? Now, I don't believe that we should just go through life trying to avoid struggle, because in my opinion, struggle is what helps us to become stronger and better, and it helps us grow. But the ones that we bring upon ourselves, right? The ones that are kind of like repeated, or we look at our loved ones and we're like, what are you thinking? Why did you do that? You brought that upon yourself. Those are the ones, right? That we can avoid the self-inflicted pain, right, by our choices. So we have to put pride and ego aside, and we have to be humble enough to look in the mirror and say, guy, was it my actions that caused me to struggle, that caused this pain? And then, of course, the next one is, did someone else bring this upon me? And if so, what actions are needed? So I have found that when other people cause me to struggle, there are usually 3 things that I need to do. 1, I need to have a conversation with them about what is and isn't acceptable in my life. 2, maybe I just need to put a little bit of distance, right? Sometimes we just are better when we love people from afar. And then 3, maybe I need to be better at setting clearer boundaries. Oftentimes we get upset when somebody steps over a boundary that they had no clue was even a boundary to begin with. We think common sense, right? We think, oh, common sense would say that is a boundary. Obviously, you don't step over the boundary. Not everybody has common sense, believe it or not. And until we say, hey, this is a boundary, this is not okay, you can't behave this way, they don't know. But oftentimes we get upset. So usually those are the 3 things I need to do when somebody else has caused me, caused me struggle. And then with life, it's like, you just got to roll with the punches, right? With my cancer, I can't blame anybody for my cancer. It just is what it is. It's part of life. It's a life struggle. And you just have to go with it and figure it out as you go.
Right.
So those are my 3 universal struggles that I have discovered. But then I also have reminders that I use when I'm struggling to help me get through it. And can I share those with you?
Yes, please. But before you share, let me just tell one thing about this formula that you just shared about your struggles. I totally agree with you, Tracey. Amazing way of seeing things, because it's very important that we be conscious. We're conscious on the moment, on the time, and on the be present. Be present, be conscious about it. Everything's what is around us, because we realize we done something wrong that will bring us a struggle, and we can change that. And that's really, this is one of the things that I've been learning or adding or putting more in action in my life. And I'm so glad to hear. And I was listening to you and I'm like, yes, this is the way. Yes, I'm right. So I'm on the right track. I love it. So now please share with me and my listeners what you were about to say.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you love it. I'm glad
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
So I just have some reminders that when I'm struggling, I remind myself of, and I'll share those. So number one is you are not meant to go through struggles alone. Who are you leaning on that is helping you get through it right now? I think oftentimes when we're struggling, people feel shame and they don't want to share because they have this, they think that, nobody else is experiencing this, or they start to feel that shame, like, why me? Or this is so embarrassing, right? And so we tend not to share what's going on. And so I always tell people, if you really think about it, people want to help. Like, if you think about when a friend comes to you and they're struggling and they're like, I haven't told anybody this, but I'm going to tell you, how does that make you feel when somebody comes and confides in you and tells you, this is what I'm dealing with and it's so hard? For me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they trust me enough to come confide in me.
Yeah.
And no, I mean, for the most part, good humans aren't gonna be like, oh my gosh, and super judge. I mean, they are out there, but I always say, go to people you trust. Whether it's, a church leader, it's a best friend, it's your parent, it's a sibling, a spouse, a therapist, anybody. We don't want to just go telling everybody all our business, right? Like, you don't want to do that. It's go to people that we trust, that we know love us and really have our best, that just want what's best for us. Those are the people that we really need to confide in. We don't need to struggle alone. But also when we go talk to people and we say, hey, this is what I'm going through, sometimes like, oh my gosh, I've been through that too. And then we don't feel alone because like, oh my gosh, you've been through that? Yes, I've been through it too. So that's one, don't struggle alone. Number two, do something right now that will lift your spirit. I always say exercise. No, you don't have to do CrossFit. You don't have to go to the gym. Go on a walk, go on a bike ride, take your dog on a walk, just move your body. Exercise
Love it.
is for everybody. Now, there's different kinds of exercises, right? And, CrossFit isn't for everybody. The gym isn't for everybody. So I always say, just find what works for you, whether it's dancing or walking, whatever it is. Move your body. For me, music. I love Christian music. I love country music. Those make me feel good. Making my bed in the morning. I love making my bed. I feel like it's just a little win. It sets me up for the day. I love to read. I love listening to podcasts because I get good, juicy tips like this, right? And it helps me, oh my gosh, aha moments. So I always say, and it's different person to person. I get not everyone likes to read. And that's okay. Not everyone likes Christian music. That's okay. I think just find the music you like. But just do something that will lift your spirits and make you feel better. And it doesn't have to be, I'm going to take a vacation to Hawaii. Well, no, do something now, something little. It doesn't have to be big and massive and expensive. Just something small. Yeah, something small. And honestly, for me, sometimes like if I have a surgery and I'm not feeling well, or I'm sick and I'm in bed, if I'm sick and in bed, just getting in the shower and hopping back in bed, I feel better. So it's just knowing your body and knowing what works for you. Number three, this is for you, not against you if you choose. So lean in and search for the lesson it has to offer. I believe that every struggle we go through, there's a lesson or multiple lessons to be learned through the struggle. And so that's why I say the struggle's for you. Oftentimes people think it's against them and they fall into the victim mindset mentality. And why me and woe's me and this isn't fair and I'm a good person and why did this, no, that struggle is now using you. I always say, use your struggle. We are either used by our struggles or we can use them. Well, I would rather use my struggle to learn and to grow, because when I'm learning and I'm growing, I'm progressing, that makes me happy. And then I can go help other people who are going through what I've been through. So it's just a mindset, right? This is for you, not against you if you choose. Number 4, this will make you stronger. Put that on repeat. Sometimes I go through struggles. Huh?
I love it. Yeah, continue.
Yes. Well, sometimes I go through struggles and I'm just like, man, we're not always going to find the silver lining right away. We're not always going to find the lesson, and that's okay. We don't have to find it. Sometimes, struggles are so hard that we just can't think clearly, and that is okay, right? If you have to get through your struggle before you can say, okay, what was the lesson? That's okay too. I've noticed sometimes those really big struggles we have to be out of before we can really see what we need to learn. And sometimes those smaller ones where we can kind of think clearer, we can learn in the lesson or in the struggle. It just, it's different, and that's okay that it's different like that. So for me, when I'm like, this is really hard, I can't think of one lesson that I'm going to learn from this right now, I just put that on repeat. This will make me stronger. This will make me stronger. This will make me stronger. And I know that eventually I will find that lesson. I will find that growth, and I will become stronger because of it. I am all about some, pep talk. You got to pep talk sometimes. Number 5, remember that one time you got through, you got this. Now, I know in the beginning I had mentioned that cancer was my ultimate struggle. In my book, I talk about it is very important to know what your ultimate struggle is, because, and when I mean ultimate, I just mean your hardest struggle you've ever gone through. For me, to this day, still, cancer was the hardest thing I've ever gone through. Well, back in January, I had another cancer scare. I had a ovarian tumor removed. Thankfully, the only thing they needed to do was surgery. I didn't need chemo or anything. And then I just had another surgery like 3 weeks ago. So, and they were, so my puma's on my back. And so when I go through these surgeries, or I have health issues, or I'm struggling with a friend, or whatever it is, I always think of my ultimate struggle. I'm like, okay, I got cancer. Yeah. I can do this. So I always say, know what your ultimate struggle is, so that when you're going through another struggle, you can say, okay, I got through that. I can certainly get through this. Yeah. Again, a little bit more pep talk too. And then number 6, focus on a solution to the struggle. I'm a big believer that what we focus on, we get more of. So when people struggle, there's 2 things they normally focus on. One, people either focus on the struggle itself, which when we focus on the struggle itself, the struggle just gets bigger. And I am sorry, but that is not fun. Why make it harder? Or you've got other people who are like, okay, I know it's a struggle. We have to acknowledge it, right? I'm not saying be naive. Acknowledge, okay, this is a struggle, but what can I do to make it better? So focus on solutions to the struggle, not the struggle itself. And then the last one, which is one of my favorites, number 7, is use what you went through to help someone get through. I just think I have gone through, if you heard all the other struggles I had been through, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I will just leave it at the cancer. But in my book, I talk about so many other struggles I have been through. And I've acquired so much just information and knowledge from my struggles. And I think, what a waste to go through all of this and then to hoard everything I've learned to myself and not share it. I just think that is just so selfish, And so I think people need to use what they have gone through to help others who are currently in that struggle get through it. And that's why I do podcasts. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I speak, is because now I am now sharing the things that I've learned, like my formula, which was developed over time, sharing that with people. So those are my 7 reminders. Now, I tell people, look, you may not use all of these reminders when you struggle. Maybe you will. But just start using some of them, whether it's just remembering, this will make you stronger, or remembering to focus on the struggle, or the solution to the struggle. Do one small thing that will make you feel better. But these really, really have really helped me when I'm struggling. When I'm struggling, sometimes I'm like, where's my list? Where's my list of reminders? I need my list back. I need my list to remember what I need to do right now. And I always tell people, look, you are either, struggles are like storms. You're either headed towards one, you're in one, or you're getting out of one. And sometimes the time frame is different. Sometimes you're heading towards that struggle for 3 months and things are good, right? Sometimes you're in that storm for a year and you're like, oh my gosh. It's different, but everybody is there. You're headed towards it, you're getting out of it, or you're currently in it. So I figured if we are all going to struggle throughout our life, why not struggle better? And that's one of my quotes in my book is everybody struggles, some just do it better. And that's what I want to teach people is how to struggle better. And just to close this out, I'll wrap up my formula. I always tell people, I have it actually in my book written out, and it's this: struggle plus reflection equals a lesson. When we apply that lesson to our lives, we're growing. And growth just means that we're progressing. progress, for me at least, and most people I know, equals happiness. And so I tell people, if you work this formula, it really just means that struggles equal happiness.
Yes.
And that's what I share.
Oh, wow. Beautiful, Tracy. I am so delighted. I'm so grateful for all this information, all this in detail that you share with me and my listeners, because it's so true. So true. I love the fact that you conquer your journey, your freedom of like release yourself from the illness, from everything that make you, how I say, weak, but now you feel stronger. It's just because, and all this comes to the point, like I love that when you said about the music, you like music, so you are very connected with a spiritual, like Christian, right? Music. Christian music, and then the what's the other name? The other one? Country music. But you also mentioned, but if you don't like these kind of ones, but find the ones you like. Find everything that you like most and focus on that, and that's really important. It's so true. And I would love, like, everyone could listen this podcast and be transformed and be inspired to be better for themselves, because this is just exactly what you've done here. You just brought some hope to me and to others. Like, life is not just about the illness, like cancer, or a broken heart because a marriage or something. Like, we think, okay, this is the end of the road, because sometimes people go through these things and they think, oh, I can't handle anymore, and they just give up, because a lot of times people just give up. And you just bringing another way of seeing things, and these formulas and these strategies. I'm like, yes, love it. And
good. I'm so glad you like it.
Yes, because it's real, it's powerful, it's true. This is simple. It's very simple. And through your journey, you could realize this, and I'm sure you're helping a lot of people with your book and with your podcast, whatever you talk, because it's simple, but we tend to get this so complicated.
Yes, and that's something that, I'll be honest, I've noticed. I think and I've been there, I've been guilty of it myself. We think that life is supposed to be hard and complicated, or that struggles are, and I'm like, no, really, I don't think it is. I think it can actually be a lot more simple. As humans, I feel like we like to overcomplicate things, you know? We're like, well, happiness is supposed to be complicated. No, not really. It's really just simple. We just overcomplicate it.
Yeah, that's it. That's so true. And now I want to ask you, my last question will be, because I'm so curious about how people can connect with you and find more about your work, so they can listen and learn and get in touch with you if they want. How? Tell us.
Yes. So I have a website, TraceyFerrin.com. They can, kind of go see what I'm about there. I'm on Facebook as Tracy Ferrin, Tracy Donnell Ferrin, or Tracy Ferrin. I've got two. And Instagram, I know I keep it so simple, don't I? Just easy, at Tracy Ferrin. And then actually I discovered TikTok a few months ago, and I had been having so much fun over there. And I actually shared my cancer story over there, and it went viral. And so I built up a good following over there. And so for my TikTok, I keep it very fun and inspiring, sharing tips, like what I shared with you. I make my videos just to share and inspire, uplift. So I actually have a lot of fun over there. So really, I can be found anywhere. Anywhere. I am also, if people want to read maybe a little bit of my writing, I would love, obviously, for your listeners to go get the book to get more detail, because the formula in the book, I go a little bit more into detail, and I actually have a space for them to write out. I ask them questions. I'm like, okay, right here, what is your ultimate struggle? Right below. So they can really write in it and stuff. But if you want to kind of just get a little taste of my writing, I write for Love What Matters. and they have over 8 million social media followers. And so I've shared my cancer story there and some other stories. But hopefully my book is available on Amazon, and hopefully they can go and snatch one up. And if they do, please reach out to me. I love it when people reach out to me and tell me their aha moments or what they took away from it and stuff like that.
Amazing. All this information about all the links that you just mentioned will be on the description of your podcast when it comes live. And I'm just going to be following you on TikTok as well, because I love TikTok.
I know, it's so addicting. It's so much fun. I'm like, I found my people. People.
It is so nice to have some fun sometimes if we got time. But yes, I'm going to follow you on TikTok as well. The other ones I'm already doing, and I'm sure we're going to keep in touch.
Yes.
Listeners, my lovely listeners, get in touch with Tracey, find more about her story, her journey, and her book. I'm so curious about your book, so I'm going to have a look as well. Thank you so much, Tracey, for this moment. I'm so grateful for being able to have you on my podcast and listen to your journey and your story. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me and allowing me to spread my story and uplift and inspire listeners. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And I wish you all the best continuously. All the blessings come on your way. Whatever you ask for, God bring to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You take care now, and I'm sure we're gonna keep in touch.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hello. Once again, I want to say thank you for joining us on our podcast episode. We came to the end of this episode, but we will have another episode next week. So don't forget, follow us so you can catch the next one. You take care, and I speak with you next week. Bye.